Hello, this is Catherine at I Know I Need to Stop Talking. Hello, lovelies, how are we doing? It's our anniversary. I mean, not all of you and me. That sounds weird. That sounds weirder than I intended it to be. But it's not all of our anniversary, but it is this podcast's anniversary. 1 whole year. Happy birthday anniversary thing, podcast. I mean, bonkers. Bonkers, right? When I first started doing this a year ago, and I thought that probably I'd do it for like 2 weeks and get bored, which is my typical attention span for pretty much anything. But instead, here we are now, all these months on, still in a fucking pandemic. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping that by this point we might be out the other side of it. But yeah, 1 whole year of podcasting, and all joking aside, thank you so much to all of you for your lovely, kind support and enthusiasm for me rambling on about shit, basically, which, you know, if people were to ask me what is, you know, kind of what's your podcast's theme, obviously I should have a good theme, shouldn't I? I should fall neatly into a category about crafting or sports or literature, when in actual fact my category is rambling on about shit. But to every single one of you who has listened and supported and yeah, just been part of the madness of, you know, yet another project, because I have so much free time in my life. I'm so grateful. It's been mad. I mean, I genuinely, when I started it, I don't think I expected anybody to listen to it at all. Maybe not even me, although then I started listening back to it just so I could always say that I've got 1 listener. That's tragic, isn't it? But it went to number 3 in the Apple parenting podcast charts, which I still found bonkers. And so many of you have been lovely enough to say that you've been, you know, you listen to it out on your walks or in the car or on your runs. Although if your running experience is anything like me, fuck knows how you can hear anything other than the blood pounding in your veins and your heart trying to leap out of your chest and your lungs coming out through your nose, because fuck running, fuck that shit. But if you love running, that's great, and that's very good for you. And if you're new to listening, as you can probably tell, this is not a running podcast. Fuck running, fucking running. But yeah, I'm so happy that you all do. I'm so happy that you're here. And you know what? I've really genuinely loved doing it. And I think sometimes as we get older, and particularly, you know, perhaps if we've had young kids and stuff, you stop doing stuff that is just for you. And this little project has genuinely been a thing just for me. And hand on heart, even if nobody did listen to it, I would still love doing it. It's been like so much fun to do. And I'm not going to lie, every time I sit here at my desk with my big massive fuck off microphone, I'm like, yeah, look at me. It's like pretending like, you know, when you were little, did anybody else do the thing of pretending they were presenting a cooking show while they were making their breakfast cereal? I really hope other people are going to say yes. Otherwise, that's just me and I sound really fucking weird. But yeah, it's been a joy. And yeah, it would never have happened without all of you. So thank you. What did I do to celebrate? Well, actually this afternoon, Jamie and I have been out on a walk. So Jamie, for new listeners, is my 13-year-old. He's, you know, as obstreperous and difficult to drag out the house as any other teenager would be when faced with the prospect of physical exercise and actually having to wear something other than your pants. But once you get him out, he is just the best company. So we walked 5 miles and talked about all kinds of random fucking shit, which concluded in an in-depth conversation about me trying to explain to him what childbirth feels like. And he wasn't going to be fobbed off with like the, you know, it just really fucking hurts. He was like, yeah, but how much and what kind of pain was it? So eventually I tried various analogies and they weren't really landing. And eventually I said to him, have you ever had a really massive poo, like a poo so big that you thought it might not come out? And his face, like, there was like this instant recognition, like, oh, yeah, shit, I have definitely had one of those. And I said, well, there you go. Imagine that times 100. And I do feel he's looked at me with newfound respect ever since then at the thought of having a large poo times 100 come out of your vagina. So yeah, that was today's educational chat. So we had a lovely walk though. It was really, really nice. And yeah, just every random topic of conversation that you could possibly think of. But last night, for anybody who hasn't seen it on the blog, last night I went to the proms. The Royal Albert Hall is my favourite place on earth. I have great plans when I die and am burnt to have some of my ashes scattered in there. That's probably illegal, so if you like work for the Royal Albert Hall, I'm categorically not going to do that. I'm a little bit and I'll be dead, so what can you do about it? But yeah, it's my absolute favourite place on earth. And of course with COVID, I haven't been for nearly 2 years, and I wasn't sure whether the proms season was going to be on this year. And I love the proms because the proms, unlike a lot of stuff, the proms are really accessible. Like the ticket prices are unbelievably reasonable. You can get tickets on the day for just like £6 or £7, and you can just rock up and you can listen to some amazing music, and often music that you would never have heard before. Like last night, so I'd gone to see Mozart's Requiem, which is one of my favourites, and when I was at school I sang in it, so I was kind of vested interest in seeing it performed. But the first half was some stuff by a guy I'd never heard of, but I'm like, cool, you know, if there's an orchestra, I mean, they can play me anything, and I'm so on board with that. And there's this one dude, and he stood there with, I don't know what this instrument's called, so I'm going to call it the whirly whirly machine. And basically, when the conductor points at him, the guy with the big drums like bang, 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 and then he gets a handle. It's like one of those old-fashioned clothes dryer things that you could get. I want to call it a mangle, but it's not. I think a mangle is something else. There was someone on Neighbours, wasn't it? God, my brain is a terrifying place. Anyway, he got the whirly whirly thing, so the man went bang, 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 and then the whirly whirly man, he was like, this is my moment, and he went whirly whirly whirly, and it was the best whirly whirlying I've ever seen, ever. And then he had a big sheet of metal, like a big sheet of metal, I suppose. I was trying to think of an analogy, but you don't need an analogy because it was a big sheet of metal. And he did whirly, 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 and then the drum man went bang, 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 and then the conductor pointed at the whirly, whirly man, and then showing his versatility, he then went whurra, whurra, whurra on the big piece of metal, and it's just a joy. And you don't get that shit anywhere but the proms. I fucking love it. Oh, it was just a delight, and just being there. Like, they open the auditorium at the Albert Hall an hour before the concert starts, which means if you're, I was going to say sad and tragic like me, but if you just love the place so much that if they let you just like curl up on your seat and have a sleep there overnight, I would so be up for that. You get there really early, so I always try to get there early, be one of the first people to go in, and you just walk into that auditorium, and I just feel this immense sense of peace. And I think that is a thing, like listening to music, listening to live performances of music, you can just, I think that is my mindfulness, is going to sit in the Albert Hall and just listen to music, and just suddenly everything is just, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's like everything just settles down in my brain and goes, yes, good, this is good. And it's so nice, you know, again, love the proms because you get so many enthusiastic people who just bloody love music. And I got chatting to the couple next to me, and this was like their first time at the proms. They'd never been before, they'd never been to the Albert Hall. They didn't even know what, you know, the day prommers down there in the arena, they were like lying down, and they were like, why are those people lying down? And I was like, okay, so I'm going to explain it to you now. They're going to stand up for the whole thing. And they were like, no way. And I was like, yes way. And on the other side of me, I had an older couple who were clearly proms experts. They were like at expert level in the proms. I don't even know what that noise was. 1 year on, still can't stop the background. I think my laptop made a noise. I've got a new laptop, so maybe it'll make another noise. Maybe it'll close down. That'll be exciting, won't it? And yeah, they were clearly proms expert level, so they were kind of like chatting and talking about, you know, the many concerts that they've been to, and it's just so lovely because it just brings together people from all different levels of musical experience, all different parts of the country and walks of life, and I just love it. And it just felt such a privilege to be there. I mean, it's always felt a privilege to go to the Albert Hall because it is my favourite place in the world. But when you consider everything that we've gone through, and I know we all do this thing, right? Particularly there's so much shit going on in the world at the minute, and we all do that thing of going, we're really lucky. And we are really lucky, but that doesn't mean things aren't still shit. And I think we have to stop minimising this thing of I'm lucky, so I can't complain about anything, because, you know, I worry desperately about the mountain of mental health issues that I do believe that the world is probably now sitting on coming out of the other side of the pandemic. And I just think if things are shit, it's okay to acknowledge that other people are having it shitter than you while still acknowledging that your own shit is pretty shit. I do think that's important. But the one thing the pandemic has just made me so conscious of is how unbelievably amazing the everyday things are. And okay, going to the Albert Hall isn't quite in the same everyday category as brushing your teeth, granted. But it is those little things I took for granted. I took for granted that I would be able to see my mum and dad whenever I wanted to. I took for granted that the people I speak to at work every day, now only through a Zoom camera, I would just see in the office every day. I took that for granted. I took for granted being able to hug people. Oh my goodness, I took it for granted so much. And I definitely, when I last walked out of the Albert Hall a couple of days before Christmas 2019, and Beth and I had gone to see one of their Christmas concerts, I took for granted that I would be back there very soon. And I just think The one thing I do want to hang on to coming out of pandemic gate, as we shall ever more refer to it, I just want to make sure that I hang on to that understanding of how fucking special and incredible and amazing every single one of those ordinary everyday things is, because it was just wonderful. It really was. So if you haven't yet got to do your own equivalent level of everyday wonderful, goodness, I hope it's so soon for you. I really do hope it's so soon. And I know that I've got people who listen to this incredibly like on the other side of the world, which is mad. But if you're over in New Zealand, if you're over in Australia, I know lots of you have messaged and said things are pretty tough at the moment for you guys, and the pandemic's really starting to hit over there. So I send you loads of love wherever you are. It's shit no matter where you are, what the weather's like. It is shit. I'm just over COVID. I just feel like we've all done COVID. I feel like we've leveled up to uber level COVID experts. And now I just feel like we should be done, but we're not. So we keep going. And those moments of everyday wonderful are wonderful indeed. Meanwhile, I'd left the children at home because they didn't want to come. And I thought, well, I'm not going to, again, long-time listeners will know that for a long time I encouraged Beth to go to the theatre and spent a lot of money on theatre tickets, and Beth would consistently and determinedly fall asleep in every fucking production I took her to see. Probably the highlight being when she was about 7, maybe, and Joe was about 10, and they wanted to go and see The Lion King. So I'd booked The Lion King in London, and because it was their birthday, I did what I would never ever normally do. I really splashed out. I went for top price tickets in the middle of the dress circle. I was like, it's a matinee. Again, it's a matinee. It wasn't like it was a late night. And we got about 20 minutes into it, and she was really into it. She was really enjoying it and, admiring how amazing it is and everything. And then she turned to me, she looked at me, she went, Mum. I said, shh, Beth, show and stuff. I mean, that's never bothered her, but I said, we're in the show. She said, yeah. She said, I'm going to have a sleep now, so can you get them to pause it? I said, it's not Sky Plus, mate. You're in a show. It's live theatre. She said, well, she was very disgruntled. She said, I suppose I have to sleep through it. So 20 minutes into The Lion King, on a matinee, where she'd slept well the night before, Beth turned round, rolled her eyes, went to sleep, and didn't wake up until I woke her up at the end. So I wasn't too disappointed that they'd decided not to come with me. So I drove to the Albert Hall by myself, left them here with Mr. I know I need to stop talking. Beth was adamant that she had to stay up to see me safely home, basically an excuse for a late night. And I said to her, I'm going to be back really late because I was driving back home. It's about an hour and a half from the Albert Hall to drive home. I said, I'll be really late, so I think you should go to bed. All right, Mummy, I'll go to bed. So I walked into the house. I heard sort of a flurry of activity from upstairs, and I walked up into my bedroom where Jamie, literally I'd been gone, 3-4 hours, had taken, he was just in my bed next to Mr. I know I need to stop talking. They were watching a film. I was like, hi, I'm here. Hi, this is my bed. I'm sleeping here. And Jamie was like, well, I'm here now. So I chucked him out. I said, where's Beth? And they sort of looked and laughed, and so I went into Beth's bed, and Beth was doing a very, very excellent impression of somebody who was attempting to persuade their mum that they had absolutely categorically gone to sleep many, many hours ago, when in actual fact, as revealed to me by Jamie and Mr. I know I need to stop talking, she'd heard my car in the driveway. She'd gone, Mum's home! Had shot into her bedroom and hidden under her covers and pretended she'd gone to sleep. But they were happy, so that was the main thing, and I was at the Albert Hall, and it was an utter joy. So yeah, that feels like a suitable way to mark 1 year of podcasting. I thought that the other cool thing to do to mark a year of podcasting was, obviously we've done a lot of podcasts in that time, I think 50 plus, and I thought it would be quite cool. So I had a little trip down memory lane this morning, just kind of going back to some of my favourite moments. So if you're perhaps newer to the podcast, then these are some of the anecdotes we've shared previously, and if you've been with us for a while, I think some of these might chime a bell of remembrance as you remember as we went through each of these, because clearly my life is never simple. The one thing I should say, actually maybe this is how I've celebrated my 1 year podcast anniversary. So Ocado, God love Ocado, you all know I love Ocado. Again, new listeners, I have managed for most of this podcast's life to coincide my Saturday evening Ocado deliveries with the recording time for this podcast. I could move either one of those things, and yet somehow something in me fails to do it. So usually I'm in some kind of Mexican standoff with Ocado, trying to get through the recording before they rock up on the doorstep. Well, tonight it was like they knew. I had a lovely, delightful text from tonight's Ocado driver, Shane. Thank you, Shane. And Shane texted me and said, running a bit early, would you mind if I came a bit early? If not, it's no problem. I said, of course, I'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Shane. He didn't ask me if I was 18, unlike last week's driver, so that was a disappointment, but he was delightful. My shopping is here, it's neatly packed away, and I'm podcasting. I was going to say without interruption, but clearly the laptop's already made that noise, so goodness knows what's going to happen next. The cats will probably kick off or something like that, but it wouldn't be me and it wouldn't be my podcast if some random shit didn't go down. I found podcast money, obviously Ocado have featured in most of my podcasts. Do you remember the one where somebody told me that I should be folding my Ocado bags up into samosa shapes while there was a period of time where they weren't collecting bags because of the pandemic, and so literally I had that cupboard that was like Monica's cupboard in Friends, that you opened it and Ocado bags just flew out. And I absolutely had best intentions to do this, and I can say 12 months on, I've never yet folded a plastic bag into the shape of a samosa because life is just too fucking short. So yeah, my bags are chaotic as ever. I did recall the time that we had one particular Ocado driver stopped outside, as they often do. And again, long-time listeners, you will know I have 3 cats and we like a comedy cat name. So we've got Sandwich, my good girl, my old lady. She just wants a quiet lap and a nice place to sleep. And then you've got the 2 absolute fucking liabilities. I don't have a dog. Contrary to popular belief, Floppy the fucking liability does not belong to me. But I do have 2 absolute fucking liabilities in the shapes of ASAP and Brexit. And I remember Ocado coming and the guy was unpacking the shopping from the van. And then suddenly Beth opened the door, marched out into the driveway, and he did like proper like jump in the air because she shrieked at him, Brexit! Brexit! So he probably thought she was some kind of, I don't know, Nigel Farage aficionado, when in actual fact she was just calling for the cat who'd run across the road. Jamie and I, on the many and varied subjects of absolute dick moves that the cats have done over the years, Jamie and I were reminiscing earlier about the time that ASAP, about midnight one Saturday night, which is always the time you want this shit to go down, had brought a live bird into the house and was chasing it around the house, like I say, ideal at midnight on Saturday. And Jamie's like the calmest, most sanguine guy in the world. He's like, I said, is everything all right? He said, yeah, there is a little bit of a problem. And then revealed to me there was this live bird. So we're trying to chase ASAP and this live bird. She's having none of it. The bird's obviously really stressed. Jamie and I, we are very well intentioned, but we're also very, very fucking clumsy. So there was a brilliant moment when we both went to try and make a grab for ASAP and literally fell over one another. So in the end, ASAP loves cheese. So I said to Jamie, I said, go and get some cheese. She'll have some cheese. So we went to get some cheese, brought the cheese upstairs. And I said, go on then, put it down for ASAP. He went, oh, I love cheese, I do. I said, Jamie, this is not the time or the place. And then much later, after we captured the bird and I'd gone outside to put it outside, which was another drama in itself because I'd gone outside not wearing very much, because I don't wear very much in bed, which is where I was at the time the live bird entered the house and all the neighbours' fucking security lights came on. But after that inadvertent flash dance moment, I came back into the house. Jamie, like, head in the fridge. I said, you all right? He turned round, mumbling, oh, I'm fine. Mouthful of cheese. Yeah, I was just really hungry, Mum. Just really fancied some cheese. Good. Excellent. So, yeah, we've had, good Ocado-related moments. And let's never forget my brilliant Ocado driver who, because I'd managed to mess up the timings and the road was closed, parked up outside the road closure and helped me, Jamie, Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking, and Beth and her best mate who'd come to stay the night and had dressed up, and I can't even describe what they looked like. Suffice to say, people stopped and stared as we walked past and carried all the shopping back down the road. Ocado, you are heroes and a regular feature of this podcast. We obviously have had regular intervening moments from my various kitchen appliances because I sit here next to my kitchen and they just like to make random noises. Do you remember the time I tried to mend my dishwasher? Again, if you missed that particular episode, my dishwasher started, I can't remember what was wrong with it, but something was wrong with it, and I just convinced, I know the door wasn't shutting properly, and I googled, and because everyone's an expert these days, aren't they? Thanks to Google, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So I googled and convinced myself I could fix it, bought the part, and then was doing this kind of real, no, Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking, you don't need to help me, how dare you compromise me just because I am a woman, I will go in here and fix this dishwasher. And so I hauled in the kids to help, and it was just one of those things where it feels like it should have been a lot simpler than it was. I mean, it was an absolute fucking disaster. And I just have this brilliant memory where we got to the point, it'd all gone horribly wrong. I'd unscrewed the wrong things. It was an integrated dishwasher, which didn't help at all. And so I ended up with, I was like, come on kids, fun family night activity. They're like, why must you make us do these things? And it's this brilliant vision of Jamie, poor, long-suffering Jamie, sitting underneath kind of the open dishwasher door, holding it, because the integrated wooden door is really bloody heavy. So he's holding it, and I'm like, right, come on, children, Mummy's nearly sorted this. We'll have a working dishwasher soon enough. And then as I said that, I unscrewed another screw, and the door just fell off and collapsed on Jamie. And again, he's Mr. Super Calm. He's like, Mum, we might have a little bit of a problem here. What's the matter? Well, the door's just fallen off. Yeah, we bought a new dishwasher, which beeps much more quietly, so that hasn't kicked off in the middle of one of these podcasts. So we take the small wins. We had the featuring of the mysterious Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking. So we did a joint podcast for my anniversary. That was fun. Also still slightly livid about it because it's one of my most listened to podcasts, which just gives more weight to my crashing insecurities that you probably all like him more and think he's funnier than I am. But we did have an awful lot of fun doing that podcast. We did laugh a lot. Some of the random shit that's happened to us over the years. My favourite's always been the ones which are related to us driving in the car together. Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking doesn't drive. He's got a really good sense of natural direction. But because he doesn't drive, I turn into a complete arsehole and refuse to give consideration to that at all. No, Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking. You cannot drive. Therefore, you cannot give directions, which is how I once ended up driving to Dorset via London. I was nowhere north of London at all. I should never have gone via London. And he was just sitting there very politely in the passenger seat kind of going, I think maybe we should... No, I know the right direction to drive. Spoiler alert, I did not. But yeah, so please don't like him more than me or think he's funnier than me. He has got his own podcast as well, which I probably shouldn't publicise, but he does a podcast for newsbiscuit.com. So if you like funny political stuff or want to listen to some more of Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking, then head yourself over here. But please don't leave me. I need you. Please stay here. Please stay here. Do you remember we used to do, I've really missed doing this, and I was like, oh, maybe we should start. We used to do What's on Catherine's Dining Room Table. I think it maybe was a better jingle than that, which might be the worst and most tuneless jingle of all time. Yay, well done me. Because I used to record my podcast on my dining room table before we slightly moved the house around, and now I have an actual desk. I mean, it's still fucking chaos, but I have an actual desk. I mean, we can play today as our anniversary treat. What's on Catherine's shit tip of a desk? It's a pile of shit. I've got not one, not two, not three, but 4 different Rubik's Cubes, because one of my skills that I learnt to do in lockdown was to do a Rubik's Cube off by heart. I'm so proud. So then, because I like to challenge myself, I've got a 4x4 and a 5x5 as well. So many hours of fury have been achieved with that. I've got, oh, this is good. What have I got here? I've got some kind of cat medicine for ASAP, probably from one of her many things. I've got oral suspension for cats, meloxicam. There you go. You don't get that on many podcasts. Maybe I should go into animal husbandry. Maybe that should be my thing. I've got some half-empty hand cream. I've got a stapler with no staples in, because staplers never have any staples in my house ever. And I've got a makeup brush with the end broken off in the shape of a mermaid's tail, because who doesn't need one of them in their life? So yeah, maybe we should recreate that. But I do laugh, and I don't listen to other podcasts. I have confessed to that before, but in my head they're all sat in like proper sound studios with like, I don't know, noise muffling stuff. Again, the fact that I'm calling it noise muffling stuff probably shows you how much of an expert I am categorically not in the ways of podcasting. And here I am sitting here surrounded by cat worming medicine and some broken makeup brushes, and it's fucking chaos. But hopefully the madness is part of the reasons that brings you here. And if not, I'm sure there are much more professional podcasts out there to listen to. But we've had some fun doing some of them. I loved doing the one about periods. I love because I just like talking about bloods and clots the size of rodents falling out of your front bottom. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I always like slightly pushing the boundaries of taste and decency is always a deep-seated joy when we get to do that. Do you remember my celeriac and my turnip, or was it a Swede? And I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure. I had a celeriac for a long time, which I didn't know what to do with it, and I did in the end make celeriac chips, and they did in the end taste like absolute shit, and I haven't bought another celeriac since then, which is possibly a good thing. And my spiralizer, I mean, that was probably peak lockdown crisis, wasn't it? When I was like, okay, I've hit, like, I need to buy something new. What's going to improve my life in the middle of a lockdown and a pandemic? A spiralizer! And for about a day it was joyous, and I haven't used it since. That's a terrible confession to make, isn't it? But I haven't used it since. So anybody needs a spiralizer, you know where to come. The kids' birthdays, I did podcast around. Oh, God. I mean, one of the things I've always liked to do for my children is to make them handmade birthday cake for their birthdays. I'm shit at loads of the parenting stuff, I'm not very good at it. I don't go and volunteer in school to hear reading. Jamie's probably really fucking relieved because he's 13 now, and that would be like, I imagine, the most mortifying thing of all time if your mum rocked up. Come to listen to your little friend's reading. Oh, I might threaten him with that. He doesn't tidy his room. It's a good idea. But even when the kids were little, I didn't volunteer to do reading. I never joined the brilliant people who do the PTAs and raise money for schools and things like that. I regularly forgot that it was Pirate Day or Christmas jumper day, or memorably once colander day. Jamie had to take a colander into school and I still don't understand why. But the one thing I always thought I would do is make my children's birthday cakes, because when I was very little, my mum used to do that every year for my birthday, and hand on my heart, no word of a lie, that was more exciting than the presents, was finding out what kind of birthday cake you were getting. That was the most exciting bit. So I've always done it for my kids, and they've kind of gone through and asked for, some fairly typical stuff every year. Again, long-time blog readers will be well versed in the fucking fruit stall. So when I was little, my mum made me what I thought was the most amazing cake in the world. In fact, I stand by that. I think it was the most amazing cake in the world. And it was basically a fruit stall with every single piece of fruit and vegetable crafted individually out of marzipan. It had a rice paper awning painted with food dye, and honestly, I love you, Mummy. It's the best birthday cake ever. And stupidly, like an absolute mug, I showed the birthday cake to my children. Jamie went, "That's nice, I'll have one of those." And in my head, optimistically, I kind of went, "Oh, how hard can it be?" Very, very hard. If your children say to you, "Mummy, can I have a fruit store cake?" No is the correct answer. But I did. I made it. It took me hours, and I do mean hours. Like my mum had said to me, "Oh, you'll want to make the marzipan fruit in advance." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Well, I started at 5 in the evening, and I don't think I finished till nearly 11. It takes forever. But his face was amazing, and I was like, "Well, I've done it now, and this is lovely." And he's so happy. And then he asked for it again the next year, and again the next year. And I have now made the fruit stall cake 4 fucking times. Like I say, if your kid asks you for a fruit stall cake, just say no. But we've done a lot of the traditional stuff. We did swimming pools, we've done like a pirate ship, and I've always given them free choice on what they'd like for their cake. And then last year, Beth's my 10-year-old, who has a delightful sense of the surreal. I said, "Beth, what do you want for your birthday cake?" And she thought for a nanosecond. She went, "I'd like a toilet with a poo and a wee in it." Pardon? "I'd like a toilet with a poo and a wee in it." I said, "Ha ha ha ha, you're joking, aren't you?" "No," she said, "that's what I want." And so it was that last year, and as chronicled on this podcast, I crafted her a marzipan toilet containing a lemon jelly wee and a brown marzipan poo, which entertainingly she was so grossed out by she refused to eat. So yeah, I mean, maybe birthday cakes are more normal in your household. Birthdays are coming up again, and I'm almost dreading asking. And also a word of advice to those of you yet to have children. If you're yet to have children and you're maybe like planning, age gaps between your children, can I also very nicely suggest and propose that you don't have your children's birthdays in different years falling 4 days apart from one another. One on the 6th of October, one on the 10th of October. A 3-year age gap seemed perfect in theory, and it's perfect in very many ways. But when you have to make 2 fucking birthday cakes in 1 week, that is very, very, very much not perfect. There is a lot of gin consumed that week in my household. We've done regular chronicles of the cats being dicks, because they are so frequently dicks. Do you remember the mouse in the toilet? I've given away the punchline there, which Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking would tell me that is not the way one does comedy, which is why he's funnier than I am. But again, for those of you who didn't hear the story, I'm coming in from a walk and Jamie going, "Oh, I need the toilet," so he ran upstairs. And then, again, in his kind of calm, sanguine, but slightly, he went, Mum, you better come here. I was like, "What, Jamie?" Went upstairs, floating in my toilet. I like so many questions. How, what, why, how? Was a dead mouse. It is like a hidden camera show pretty much all of the time. Like the morning I woke up and walked up my bedroom. And when you're waking up and you haven't woken up properly, and I looked down the stairs and I was like, what the fuck? When you can't work out what you're seeing. I was like, what is this like? It looked like some kind of smash and grab on a Greg's bakery, because ASAP, the maddest of the fucking liabilities, who regularly scales the side of our house in the night to just jump in through the first floor window because she gives no fucks to being locked away to sleep at night and just comes in whenever she pleases, had gone into the kitchen, opened the bread bin, taken out a sealed 6-pack of white bread rolls and proceeded to drag them to the stairs and systematically disembowel them during the night. So, I mean, that I just, what the fuck? And then, of course, we had the maggots, which I won't relive in graphic and lurid detail because it only happened recently. But again, for anybody who missed it, you know, there are many relaxing ways to spend a Monday evening. I would say going into your daughter's room to find it smells of fish, going in search of the fish smell, having to then wriggle your way army crawl style underneath the bed to discover a deceased, I don't even know what, maybe it was a fish, probably not, teeming with maggots centimetres from your face. By the way, this is not a podcast to listen to when you're eating. I maybe should have informed you of that at the start. I mean, what a treat. When they use that hashtag making memories, I'm pretty certain these are exactly the moments that they're talking about. And then the other one that I think I'd kind of forgotten about it because I think I must have blanked it from my mind. Do you remember the one with the fucking milk? Oh dear God. So I am going to retell this one because I was like reliving it this morning going, I can't believe that even happened. So we were getting ready for school. So this is like November time last year. And we were getting ready for school. And as usual, it was a bit of a mad rush and amidst people screaming teeth, hair, shoes and trying to get everybody out of the door. And the dick cats, the fucking liabilities, never help with this situation because quite often they will have dragged and killed something for us overnight that has to be dealt with. So I'd kind of walked past the conservatory. I'd seen a rat in there. This rat was fucking huge. It was like the size of my forearm. Absolutely ridiculous. So Beth was sat having her breakfast. So I called Jamie because he was on the cats that one. I said, Jamie, you've got a rat. Meaning you've got a rat to deal with. Well, at this point, Beth lost her shit because for some reason when I said, Jamie, you've got a rat, meaning there's a rat to clean up, Beth interpreted that as, Jamie, you've got a rat which is on Beth's head and about to run down her neck and down her school jumper, which was absolutely categorically not what I had said, but she's now running around the kitchen screaming and crying and like her feet are on fire. So I'm trying to deal with that scenario. And then Jamie's like, yeah, I'll sort it. Mr. Sanguine, I'll sort it. He goes then to open the fridge to make himself some cereal. And again, and sometimes Jamie's understatedness can be a bit of a problem because it just means that psychologically I don't quite prepare myself for what's to come. So he was like, open the fridge, and he went, Mum, can you come here? We've got a bit of a problem. And I turned round and I can't even describe. When I was very little, there was a time when a pipe in my granny's maisonette started leaking and my dad couldn't find the stopcock to sort it out and water was cascading around the rooms, and my little sister Helen helpfully brought a very small egg cup and said, will this help, Daddy? No, not so much. That's basically the scene that was going on in my kitchen, and there wasn't even Helen with an egg cup to help, only it wasn't water that was spraying and cascading around my kitchen, it was rancid milk. Because in my fridge door, someone unknown had missorted. We have a strict date rotation order of the 4 pinters of milk that sit in the fridge door, and someone had misrotated so that one of those 4 pinters had sat there festering more and more evilly until Jamie had gone to it to lift it out, and upon impact it had literally exploded. Now, I'm not good in the mornings at the best of times, but you try me when I'm dealing with a dead rat the size of my forearm and 4 litres of rancid milk spraying around my kitchen. Fucking hell. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm going, oh my God, we've got to be out the house in 6 minutes. And you know when you just want to lie down on the floor, face down, and wait for a more adult to come and deal with the situation. And then Beth came over with a J-cloth that she'd found and said, it's all right, Mummy, we'll sort it out. We're a team. We're a super team. And do you know what? We fucking were. We were absolutely on point that morning. We scrubbed up the rancid milk. I mean, it didn't help. Beth was threatening to vomit the whole time. Jamie dealt with the rat and berated the cats like, what have you done, you absolute idiots? I do enjoy the way Jamie talks to the cats, like just absolute amusement as why they would be such dicks. And we cleaned up all the rancid milk and we were ready within 6 minutes, and I still had time to finish my winged eyeliner and get us all out the door with teeth and hair and shoes all intact. Absolutely #winning at life. But oh my God, that milk. So yeah, we've really captured the magic on this podcast over the years. And then to my horror, when I went back and went, oh, what we start with? What were the first podcasts about when I went back a year? And then I went, fuck, school uniform, because it's fucking school uniform time, isn't it? And last year I chronicled on one of the very first podcasts the hell of school uniform shopping. And I vowed on that podcast that I would do it earlier this year. And now it's the 21st of August and I still haven't done the fucking school uniform. And oh my God, it's all part of the perfect fucking circle of all the shit bits of life, isn't it? I mean, yeah, there's nothing like school uniform shopping to bring you down to earth with a bump. Fucking hell. But thank you so much to all of you for listening and putting up with my ramblings. And like I say, it blows my mind that anybody would listen to this shit. I must improve my PR skills when trying to encourage people to listen to my podcast. It blows my mind that anyone would listen to this shit. But genuinely, it's been a joy for me to do. I'm so grateful to you all for being here. I have no plans to stop it, if that's all right. I'm going to keep going because I've really, really, really enjoyed doing it. And as ever, I love our mad little corner of the internet. I love the kindness and the care and the compassion people have shown to one another. And I also love the fact that my life is just absolutely fucking batshit. And long may it continue. Look after yourselves. Have amazing weeks. Take care. I will see you next week. Lots of love. Bye-bye.